Welcome to Loup TV. I'm your host, Gene Munster, along with Doug Clinton. Our topic today is Roblox. Surprise, surprise. Every tech investor is talking about this. I think we're going to have a slightly different view of what's going on here. And before we jump in, just a little bit of background for those of you who are new to Roblox. That probably means that you're over 13 years old because half of their users are under the age of 13. This is similar to Minecraft. Think of it as an extension to Minecraft. It is a freemium model where you pay for extra features, extra games, skins, a lot of stuff that we can talk about, but the approach is get kids playing and then get parents' credit card and give money to Roblox. That's the business in a nutshell. It was a direct listing, so that's different than your traditional IPO and a SPAC. And I'm going to start there before we jump into the business model. Was there anything regarding the direct listing that caught your attention, and how maybe you can recap how it traded and what the takeaways were?
The direct listing, I guess the performance of it out of the direct listing caught my attention. Normally, when you see a direct listing, you don't have these really big moves up, because the whole point of a direct listing is, instead of doing a book run IPO where underwriters are buying stock at a certain price and then allocating that to their clients and investors, and then you see this surge of demand come in from everybody who didn't get stock in the IPO pop. In a direct listing, you just start trading shares that are available, and essentially all the shares are free to float on a direct listing. So people who hold shares, employees, early venture funds that invested, all of them are free to trade their shares out of the gate on a direct listing. And normally that means that supply
Versus
and
6
demand are
months,
pretty,
right?
yeah, usually there's a lockup, and it creates these sort of supply and demand imbalances where you get these first day big pops. If you look at Spotify, if you look at Slack and Palantir, those are the other three tech direct listings we've had over the past couple of years. Most of them ended close to what's called the reference price, which is, think of it as like the first trade price, which is based on prior private transactions. So the reference price for Roblox is $45. And the stock, I think, closed over $70. So it was up like 60% on the first day. That's a lot like a first day IPO pop, in my opinion. And I'll leave my last thought, which is this. People that are proponents of direct listings often say how they think it's a more efficient process. You get a market price instead of this IPO pop where the company is kind of quote unquote giving away money to the IPO investors. I think if you look at this rationally, what happened here, Roblox did a private round 2 months ago with private equity investors. Essentially, they just transferred the pop to those investors, because now those investors are up and they don't have a lockup either. The way I understand it, the way the S1 was written, they're up 60% in 2 months. So I don't see how that's any different, than a normal IPO. And like, this is not me trying to pick on direct listings. I think we just need to be objective and say, look, somebody is still getting a big pop. Even if you shift the pop to the private markets, it doesn't mean that you made the process more efficient necessarily.
Makes a ton of sense. Let's jump into the positioning of the company longer term. I talked about what they do. How is the company positioning itself for investors?
They talk a lot about being a metaverse. If you look at their S1, if you look at their investor roadshow, which they put out a couple weeks ago.
Let me,
on
before you
video.
get into that, let's just
Yeah.
define what the metaverse is.
Yeah, I think the way that people usually think about a metaverse is it's like this 3D sort of virtual world where people can have, unlimited sort of experiences. And I think the common example people give is Ready Player One. If you've seen the
Of course.
movie, if you've read the books, you kind of put on this VR headset and then you're transformed into an alternate universe, this digital universe. I think that is kind of the ultimate purpose of the metaverse. I don't necessarily think that a metaverse
Not there
has to
today,
be,
though. This metaverse
it's
does.
not, yeah, it's not there today, but I don't think a metaverse has to be 3D or, virtual reality. I think that a metaverse can be 3D, but through a screen, which is what Roblox really is. To me, a metaverse is just this alternate reality where you sort of have a presence in a world that's persistent, and that there's also a real economy around. That to me is what defines
So
a metaverse.
this would be, you wouldn't consider Grand Theft Auto a metaverse. That's just a gaming experience?
I think it is a derivative of the metaverse, I would say. There's no real
Okay.
economy there. That's the thing it's missing, but I think it's got the components of a metaverse.
Okay.
Yes.
So I
Roblox has
interrupted.
the economy though. Roblox has the economy.
Talk a little bit more about the economy piece.
Yeah, I think that's what's different and sort of separates Roblox from other competitors, where Roblox is, an immersive 3D game, just like Fortnite, just like Grand Theft Auto. It's obviously tailored for a younger user base. But what they have that those other games don't have is this very robust developer community. So just like Apple, they let developers build experiences for the Roblox world. So it could be, games within a game. It could be sort of a knockoff of Fortnite. It could be a museum experience. It could be any number of sort of things you can do. There's about 20 million different
20 million.
experiences. 20 million, 20. That's correct, on Roblox's platform right now. And so, I mean, you can think of it as almost an infinite number of things you could do in this metaverse that Roblox has created with the
But there's
help of their
some
developers.
consistencies around like the art and kind
Hmm.
of the look and
Blocky
feel.
art, yeah, characters. It's very, I would say, cartoon oriented. It's not, grungy like you would think of for GTA 5.
Got it. So some consistency, 20 million developers developing on top of it. They're selling virtual goods and maybe performance within that. And that makes a ton of sense for the business model longer term. Anything more on the business model long term?
There's 8 million developers, 20 million experiences. The reason it's a real economy is that the way that Roblox makes money and the way that developers ultimately make money is through the in-game currency, which is Robux. That's how that's what they sell essentially to their users. If you're a user, you can subscribe to get a certain number of Robux each month, or you can buy Robux a la carte. But Robux is the currency that allows you to do things in the game. And so every developer experience might have different things. You might buy items, you might buy weapons, you might buy outfits, and developers share that revenue with Roblox. Developers keep 70%, just like the Apple universe. Roblox keeps 30%. So that's the sort of economy component to the game.
What's the quick math, the number of paying users versus revenue? Do we know what a typical paying user pays Roblox in a year?
I have these numbers. I don't have them off the top of my head. Typically, there's about 35 million daily active users,
And
and
about
it's something.
500,000 paying.
Yeah, something. I think it's a little bit less than 500,000 paying. So I think that's a typical ratio you would probably see in a game like economy. Where you have a free to play mechanism and a premium component to it. That's right.
Got it. So you've got this space that they're mining with virtual goods, essentially. Let's kind of end the conversation on the business model, if there's not anything more to cover there, and jump into the experience for the parents, the kids. What that's all about is the average use is about 2.5 hours per day. Seems like a big number to me. I watched a lot of TV growing up. I'm old. I'm 50. Back in the 80s, that was part of coming home from school. So I'm sure I watched more than 2.5 hours of TV a day. Was with my brothers and my family. I think that there's a little bit more of a social aspect around TV, at least how I remember growing up. And what's your take on the social impact of this for kids who are playing it? I mean, is this the new social way that they interact, or is it kind of a step further down, maybe a little bit more of an isolated way that people are living?
I don't think it's isolated at all, and I think that's part of the feature set of a metaverse is it's meant to be a sort of communal experience in the way that we've always talked about Fortnite. I think Roblox fits within the same paradigm. Is this sort of a third place for kids, for people to commune, where kids go to school, at least they used to before the pandemic, and they also were at home. And then the third place for them now is this sort of gaming type experience, this alternative world where they go and share these different, developer experiences. And so I don't think it's an isolation sort of mechanism. I think it's very social. But I also think that for every generation, there is some technology that older people, that parents are concerned about kids exposing themselves too much to. For you, it was TV. For me, it was the emergence of the internet. It was AOL and instant messaging and
Hmm.
Napster, downloading music illegally. And so, those things I think will always exist. In 20 more years, the next generation will have some different thing. Maybe it'll be a true metaverse that we're talking about then. Is it bad if everybody's spending 24 hours a day in the virtual world?
I think one of the consistencies between those three, TV, internet, and what's going on with Roblox, is what's true to being human, which is community is one of the three things: community, creativity, and empathy. And so it seems like regardless of what the platform is, I found community hanging out with my brothers, and you found it on an AOL chat perhaps, and the kids today are finding it playing with games. So I could definitely see that benefit to it. Is this the new, is this essentially where the allowance dollars of tomorrow are going to be spent on platforms like Roblox? It's essentially parents' money that are going to be propelling this forward, correct?
It's definitely parents. I don't know many kids that are sub 13 that make a lot of their own money. Yeah, maybe some YouTube stars. There's probably some of that going on. But I do think it's parents saying, hey, maybe we used to buy you toys. We used to buy GI Joes or Barbies. Those are toys from my era. I don't know what the current toys are. But now instead of toys, I mean, kids are spending time in these virtual world. And I think that, buying Robux is sort of that equivalent. The kid can go and then, again, buy the items that they want to use in the game, explore these worlds that are available to them. And I think an important part to maybe end on is that Roblox has made a very deliberate effort to build safety into their product. They know that they have, young and vulnerable
Mhm.
users that are spending time in these platforms. And so they're very careful about what is allowed on those platforms. And I think that's probably reassuring for parents to some degree.
Makes sense. I've heard one parent describe they like the fact that you actually have to build things, and there's some creativity that's involved there. So I can see where and why it fits there. I'm reminded too is that all these experiences need to come through some sort of a hardware device, and I think about Apple's benefit. This try to take an iPad away from a 2-year-old. Good luck, and I think that it's even more intense for a 13-year-old. And there's an opportunity around what I think Apple's doing to kind of power a lot of these experiences. But the A topic, of course, is Roblox. I feel fully informed now. Thank you, Doug. On behalf of Doug, Gene, Loop TV, bye for now.